All right. Well, good morning, everyone. We're going to start the audit committee meeting. We'll start off with, we have no one for public comment. And so we're looking for approval of minutes from October 8th, 2025's work session. We'll turn that over to the committee to approve.
Do we do the motion and then second and then vote? Is that, I don't know.
No, that's not necessary for committee. You just need to.
Okay. I mean, I'm in favor of the minutes. I also know, I mean, the minutes also mention the fact that at the last meeting, there weren't enough of us there to approve the June minutes. So do we need to do that also?
If the committee has had an opportunity to review the June minutes, then yes, you can approve them. But if you haven't had an opportunity to, then we can table that for what will be the May meeting yet to be officially. Okay. So I'll leave that up to you to determine.
Okay. Maybe I'm the only one that went back and looked at the June minutes then, so we can maybe wait on that.
Okay, we can table it until the May meeting. But is the committee in consensus to approve the October 8th minutes?
I am. I don't know about others.
Jed and hey, if you agree with the minutes, could you give a thumbs up or a statement as to not agreeing? So
I was not in at that meeting, but I mean the minutes look fine.
Yeah, I had just given birth at that time, so I wasn't present, so I don't really want to.
Okay, I can make a note that Christy approved them, but the committee as a whole did not due to lack of presence.
Okay.
Very good. So we'll move on to discussion items 4.1, which is the review draft of our independent uniform guidance report. We have Dwayne Schoen from INSRO here with us. Dwayne, welcome. And if you'd like to give us a review, that'd be great.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thanks, everybody. So if I can, I was going to share, but I guess I won't. I don't know if Emily, do you have it or does somebody have it? Maybe put it up on the screen.
I can, yep.
We got two Emilys going on here, Dwayne. Could you do us a favor and explain how this is different from the past single audits? Maybe you've already got that as a plan to do.
Happy to. Yep. So again, good morning, everybody. So typically in the past, we have prepared the single audit reports at the same time that we have prepared the regular district audited financial statements, all of the letters, all the other documents. This past summer, the Office of Management and Budget was delayed in producing the compliance supplement. The compliance supplement is an annual document that gets put out by OMB. And it gives audit firms guidance for how to conduct single audits, including all the details, changes in programs, changes in regulations, all of that information. It's a several hundred page document, typically gets put out in May or June. And it's, something that we can use to conduct the audit. Because of issues at the federal level, the compliance supplement this year didn't get issued until Thanksgiving time, almost, I think it was the week of Thanksgiving when they finally issued it. And because state ed requires that your reports be submitted by October 15th, this year we separated the reporting. So in October, you'll recall, we prepared and we issued the reports on the district, the audited financial statements, the extra class reports, all those letters. And then the uniform guidance information, as I said, the compliance supplement came out in November. Over the winter time, we worked on the single audit components of the audit. And that's what we're issuing, or that's what we're showing you today, is the reports related to the single audit. Okay, so that's kind of why this is a different process than what we're used to. There's nothing wrong with doing it this way. A number of audit firms have typically done it this way. We've usually put them together, but again, because of the issues at the federal level, we were kind of forced into separating them for this year. So the good news is, if you look at the Uniform Guidance Report that you have in front of you, and if you would actually scroll all the way down to the very last page of the document, because that's really where the results are. So this last page of what you see in front of you is a summary of the results. So the first couple of sections here, or the first section, the financial statements section of this ties back to what we issued back in October, where we issued an unmodified report on the financial statements as a whole, and our report on internal control and compliance over the district identified no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies, and no non-compliance. In the middle of the page, that federal awards section, and the rest of the page down, this is part of the single audit presentation. So every year we tested, every year we have to select certain federal programs that we test for the June 30, 2025 audit. We tested the special education cluster, and our test of that program identified no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies in the control system, and no non-compliance with laws and regulations. So we're issuing a clean report, an unmodified report over the single audit. And then all the way at the bottom below you can see, which program we tested. Again, the special education cluster. The dollar threshold is for the June 30, 2025, $750,000. Just a point of reference going forward, it's going to change to $1 million for June 30, 2026, due to changes at the federal level. The district is a low risk auditee because we haven't had findings the last couple of years. And again, we had no financial statement findings and no federal award findings. So this page is all clean. And then if you would scroll back to page 4 of the document. So this page is a list of all of the federal programs that the district administers. You can see a total of about $6 million in federal money that, most of it passed through state ed. And then, the district spends it. You can see the special education cluster is that second group down, about $1.5 million in total funding there. And then the other programs, Title I, another 1.3, the school lunch cluster, down at the bottom, about 1.9 million. Again, every year we need to kind of rotate those programs to determine which ones get tested. We have to test every program at least once every 3 years, every program over that type A threshold of $750,000. So for this year, special education cluster was the one that was tested. So that's kind of the highlights, and I'll take any questions.
I'll jump in and say I didn't have any questions on this. It looked pretty straightforward and all good news.
Yep. Yeah.
Great, Dwayne, thank you. I don't think there are any other questions.
Okay, great. So I'll just mention to kind of wrap up. So, the final steps, as you can see, this is in draft form. We're going to get the management representation letter out today. That's just a letter that confirms that everything that we got is everything we need to complete the audit. We'll get that back from the district. Then we'll be able to date and finalize the report. And then once we finalize this report, there is a data collection form, which is a document that gets submitted to the Federal Audit Clearinghouse. And that document, just summarizes the results of the audit. It includes a copy of the audit report, and that all needs to get certified and submitted to the clearinghouse by the end of the month, by March 31st. There is a 9-month after year-end deadline to get this submitted. So we'll be getting that taken care of early this week and get it wrapped up.
Excellent.
Dwayne, I know that I expressed my appreciation to you and your team and personally, and I wanna say that publicly. That this was a difficult one to get through because it was auditing in time when I wasn't necessarily doing this. So pulling the information together, and you folks were so patient with me, and I appreciate that very much.
Happy to do it. Yep, you're welcome. All right. Thanks,
Great.
everybody. Enjoy the rest of the meeting.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, we'll move on to discussion item 4.2, unless there's any questions or comments about 4.1. All right, very good. 4.2 is a review of the 24-25 corrective action plans for the extracurricular activity funds. Emily, if you wouldn't mind leading that one, we'll.
Yeah, so these are the letters that we collect from each of the extra class activity funds, the high school, LECS, Boynton, and DeWitt. And their review of the findings of the extra class audit for the 24-25 school year. And their following up on the recommendations, what they will be doing to try to correct some of the issues that were found in the audit. Now, quite honestly, some of these issues that are findings in these audits are typically things that happen due to the changing of the guard, if you will, of the extra class clubs with the advisors and the student representatives. So they're going to be, unfortunately, they're going to be findings that perhaps we see again, but they're always trying to strive and create a better controls of the deposits. A lot of them would be the receipts not getting deposited as quickly as they should be. So we are always working on that. And these are the letters that they present to us, and then we file them with the SED. So then we can wrap that whole 24-25 audit up.
Thank you. Any questions regarding the extracurricular activity funds section?
I guess my only question is, what is the procedure for following up on the plans for each of the schools? Like, just because, like the Boynton one in particular had some comments on things they were going to try to do or things that they hoped would happen. And I just didn't know if there's some point where there'll be a check-in to see if any of the things had happened.
So that's a great question. So part of the process is to employ a checks and balances system with us so that we can make sure that the training is changed and modified to meet the needs of, the corrective action plan. So that's something that's on us to do, and we'll be watching that as the year progresses.
Okay, yeah, like just as one example, one of the things was about they were going to provide ledgers to each advisor in the hopes that they would show student treasurers to how to fill them out. And I don't even know if I don't have any insight into this, but like, do the advisors have training and know how to show the students how to do it?
Right.
But that's just an example. So
Sure.
okay.
No, good point.
Thank you.
And we'll follow up with that.
Great.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, thanks for pointing that out.
That was my only question. But
Good one.
look like they all have good plans in place.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, the second review for the for the internal audit was the time card or timekeeping audit financial report. So I should address this way. We are actually looking at different systems instead of using old-fashioned time cards. We're actually looking at an electronic version to mitigate some of the issues that were reported in this particular audit. So that's something we're trying to work through this year and into next year that we hope will help with some of the issues that are expressed here. So that's a real quick summary of what's in that very long corrective action plan. That's really the issue.
I have some questions about this. Is now a good time or should we wait?
Oh, no, by all means.
So I was thinking about this issue. I read through the report and I don't know if I'm concerned, but I'm interested in knowing a little bit more about this issue. Do you think we have a culture of an issue with the inaccuracies? What is sort of the genesis of these issues? Could this have been fixed with better training? Is there a lax culture around timekeeping? Is there a bigger problem here, or are we just spot checking and there are a couple of issues with time cards? And is this material? What is the cost of the inaccuracies? And then, if we are thinking about a system, what would be the cost of that system? And what would be the ongoing maintenance of that system? Is that going to cost more to correct these issues than what these issues cost us? And so that was my line of thinking. I was wondering if you guys had some thoughts on that.
Sure. So those are all the thoughts we had going into this. I think that's one of the reasons why we were looking at a more efficient system of clocking in, clocking out. I would say this is more of a systems issue than it is culture. The old way of utilizing time cards is not very efficient, especially today with the way that our schedules are and so on and so forth. So we are transitioning to more of an electronic version of this, where you swipe in and swipe out, so that you kind of keep track of hours more efficiently. So I wouldn't suggest that it's a culture issue. This is, again, more of a systems problem, more of an efficiency issue.
The system that we are looking at is a module that attaches to our financial program, WinCap. So it's all part of that. So it's not a totally new system to us. It's actually going to incorporate right into the financial program we currently use in the payroll, in how we run the payroll.
And I was curious, why wasn't a supervisor approving time cards? And if you were to implement, what if we tried for a month? If a supervisor is approving the time cards, we've done a better training on this, and then we do a spot check of how time cards are. Is there an interest in that, or are we saying we're transitioning to an electronic system? And I'm not opposed to it. I think that would be great. I just, worry about costs, especially since everything is going up. And if we're going to implement a system, it's going to cost like $60,000. It'll be $30,000 to maintain every year. How do we explain that to people? So, and those are my immediate thoughts.
Yeah, no, those are all great thoughts, and I don't think costs certainly there's a cost up front, but I don't think there'll be a maintenance cost to that effect. And there are a number of other districts that have already employed this, because one of the concerns I would have is that even a supervisor's oversight of so many cards and so many times that are associated with these schedules would be difficult to maintain. So having a more efficient system that can oversee this seems to be the right course of action, and certainly what other districts have done as well.
And so back to the question of why was the supervisor not approving the manual time cards?
Okay, so the bulk of it, actually the supervisor was reviewing a spreadsheet. So the number of cards that come in from this particular department, where some of the findings were, I'm not going to say that there isn't an occasion that a supervisor may not sign a time card, but this particular case, because of the number of time cards, what we implemented was a spreadsheet where it brought all those time cards together. The supervisor would review the spreadsheet, but the signature would not land on the time cards. So because of the number of time cards, the auditors did not like that, which I understand. So they didn't like it that there wasn't an actual signature on the time cards, but there was review being done by the supervisor of the spreadsheet that was pulling all of that time together and being sent into the payroll office to be put in. So there were misses on that. So that is something we are addressing, but that is really the reason that the signatures weren't. It was not that they were not being reviewed. It's just the signature didn't land on the time cards.
Okay, so I guess I'm just trying to summarize. And also, pardon me, I'm postpartum 5 months, so some of my thoughts are a little goofy. So we've got the system where doing manual time cards, it's going to an Excel spreadsheet. A supervisor is reviewing a big spreadsheet. And so we're saying we're going to transition into a system, so then my questions become, we move into a system, but then if the human component, if the review's not happening, well, then that system's not that great. So we're saying we're addressing with that supervisor the reviews, moving into a system, we're hoping that we have better checks over these things or a better way to implement technology to make sure that we don't have these inaccuracies. How do we sort of address some of these issues through the new technology?
Okay, so this system that we're moving into has certain levels of approval, similar to what we do for a purchase order process, where it's information is entered in at one level, then the supervisor has to approve at another level. Then it comes down and it gets approved at the main level, which would be payroll. So it is until the supervisor approve, it will not go to the next level. Plus, it will also put better eyes on the attendance. So because it's going to be all electronic and incorporating right into the program that we currently use, there will be a better tracking process. And because of those approval levels, that will correct that issue as well.
Okay, and then would the technology address some of the findings, like, if you have lunch, it sounds like we're not paying for lunch, or you're not recording time during lunch, or would it be able to automatically build that in so that we don't have those findings again?
Well, I think, yeah, partially. So the program is a swipe in, swipe out with the cards and swipe in for lunch or not, or be swipe back in when you're done, that kind of thing. So what we're trying to do is eliminate some of the potential for human error in this, but of course that still might exist. But that's one of the ways we hope to address this, is so that you're not relying on someone to sign in, sign out, having someone else do that for you. So some of what you're seeing is because of the human error aspect here.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So then I guess I've asked a bunch of questions. Next steps would be this moves to the bigger board. Would they then, say, okay, let's move forward with this system? Would they also be asking questions like, what is the cost of these errors, and then what is the cost of a system to fix it? And again, what are those amounts? Do we know right now? And also, what is our role in this? Do we approve this moving forward, or, what does that look like?
So the system's currently being implemented, so we're already doing this, not just for the area that you're looking at, but global. So we're doing this across the board to try to make the whole timekeeping process more efficient. So it's not just with this particular group; it's across the district. So we don't have the overall cost factor of all of the errors that were created due to human error. We're assuming, based on this one snapshot, that there's probably a larger issue that we're dealing with. So our hope is that what we're employing will help mitigate the larger issues.
Okay. I guess my only recommendation then would be, maybe we need better training around this, around, if you take a lunch, this is what you do. You would need to make sure these are the periods of time, and things like that. I wonder if there is an opportunity here to better train people to avoid some of these instances again moving forward. Even though we're going to implement new technology, it could be a good time to re-educate people.
Absolutely.
Tom, how many staff does this involve?
Picture that, because it's most of it. It's the non-instructional staff,
It's the
right?
EA,
Yeah.
most of the support staff,
Right.
I'd say 250, 300
Yeah, it's quite rough.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, right.
off the top of my head.
Right. And this looked at just transportation staff, just for the audit purpose. So it's a small snapshot of a larger group. So, did you hear the question? I'm sorry, I want to make sure you can hear. The question was, how many staff does this impact overall? And so the answer was between 250 and 300. And the audit looked at just one small part of that, which is transportation. So, great. Any other questions or thoughts? And thank you for the feedback, Amy. That's very helpful.
I don't have any other questions. I think I asked all my questions at the October meeting when we went over the findings.
Thank you. Very good. Okay, we'll move on to discussion item 4.4, which is our area of focus for 25-26 with the internal audit. And I can throw that back to the group. We have some thoughts, but I'll ask you for your.
So I had a question. I know that last year when we were talking about this, Sean had said he was going to try and ask the business office to come up with sort of a proposed schedule for the next few years just to see what might come up over time. Because so last year it seemed like the payroll was already kind of decided, which was fine because I think most of us didn't have enough institutional background at that point to make a recommendation otherwise. But I had suggested, based on the New York State Comptroller's Office guidelines and what had been looked at in the district in the past, that some of the things that should be coming up are fixed assets, transportation inventory, and IT. Even though IT wasn't that long ago, so much had changed from, or has changed from whatever it was, 2012 or 2013. So I don't know if there is kind of a proposed schedule or at least a proposal of what should be looked at over the next few years for us to pick from.
Sure, we have one idea at this point, which is purchasing procedures. That was number one on our list, looking at that overall, but fixed assets would certainly be sorry, we have a slight technical issue. But aside from that, purchasing was number one. I think fixed assets is a great idea. IT was relatively current. I thought it was closer than 2012. I thought it was more recent than that. I could be wrong. And I'm sorry, what was the other?
Transportation inventory.
Inventory. Yeah. So no, we don't have a list. That's right now. That's our thought.
Okay. I mean, I'm okay with purchasing procedures if that's the area that you've identified as important, but I do want to know, or I would like to see transportation inventory and fixed assets at least as planned for the next year or two.
Sure.
Just based on the New York State Comptroller guidance.
Sure.
I don't know how others feel. Hey, and Jed.
I think that sounds good.
One of the reasons why we chose purchasing as an option is because we have not done one in recent history quite a while. And that seems to be, that's also an area that Comptroller will target us for down the road, purchasing the very
yeah.
very important area. But by all means, if fixed assets is an area you want us to look at, that's transportation inventory, that's great.
I think I mean I'm okay with purchasing procedures for this coming. I know we can only realistically do one per year.
Right.
But then maybe of those three, the fixed assets, transportation inventory, and information systems, if over the next, I don't know how long, few months, if we could kind of figure out among those what should be the priorities, at least tentatively, unless something else comes up, but tentatively, what of those should be the priority to be scheduled over the next couple of years?
Sure. We can do that.
Would be, I think, helpful.
Absolutely. Sure.
And again, those might not all be the right area to look at. I just, given what the comptroller had put in their guidance, seems
Sure.
looking at them at least might be good.
Absolutely.
But
So we'll throw that out there. When do we need a decision, do you know?
They'll come in May to start that part of the audit. So we can let them know and then we can outline what they will be looking at in a purchasing audit. So you can have a better idea coming into it. And then we will definitely get you a schedule of what has been done, what years they've been done, and going forward, what types of things we can do. And we'll get that out to you.
okay, great. Thank you.
Part of a purchasing audit might be, I'm going to be a bit of a stretch, but it might be how we inventory purchases as well. So some of that will be part of that process. That's a discussion we can have with them.
Okay. That sounds good to me.
Okay.
You limit it to one area?
We kind of
per
are.
year?
Yeah, unfortunately we are.
The internal audit, they do a risk assessment audit. that's a review of the same things every single year. And they just show that that's part of that 5-point plan that the state has implemented for auditing. And then they do a focus. So
Okay.
it's like 2 separate audits. You have the risk assessment and then you have the focus. So the focus is what we can drive if we see there's some area we want them to look at, or we can set it up as a schedule.
Any other questions there? Okay, very good. All right, the next area is 4.5 is the auditing service request or RFP. So,
Yeah, I think we might be slightly behind on this. Every 5 years, it's actually a 3-year contract that we can have with our external or financial auditor, Dwayne, that was just with us earlier. And then you have the opportunity to extend it for 2 years. So basically, every 5 years, we should be doing an RFP, request for proposal, to gather information to see if we have any reason or need to change our external auditing services. So to get us back on schedule with this RFP, we're recommending we do an RFP this spring. Now we have been with Insero for quite a few years. They do very well for us. They change up the folks that come in and audit us on an annual basis. They enter new folks in with new eyes looking at our information. So the process of the RFP really is just to comply with what the state regulations are for auditing. I don't want this to be perceived as we have any issues with our current auditing, but it does bring to light other auditing firms out there, and then we will review and see where we want to go. So I have an RFP prepared. My hope is to get this sent out and hopefully have it all finalized in the beginning part of May. I was looking at some dates with Emily, and we know that we're running into the vote. And I think there were some meetings maybe been scheduled the leading up the week of the vote, that we may want to be changing around, maybe bringing earlier. So my hope was that maybe we could pull in the audit committee with the finance committee and making this recommendation, reviewing the RFPs and making the recommendation going forward. And that'll be probably early part of May, hopefully, to bring it all together.
Emily, what firms are you planning to send an RFP to?
Well, we'll throw it out to the firms. I know Insero will definitely be one of the ones. In my experience with RFPs, usually you get I think I'm not sure what they go by now. I can't remember their new name, but you'll get firms out of Rochester applying. You'll get maybe another couple firms in this area, but we'll advertise it and then we'll send them out to any firms that request them. And then we'll also send them out to local firms. I don't have a list to answer your question, but I know that usually you might get 3 or 4 that respond to the RFP. Sometimes you might only get 2, maybe even just the 1. But it reviews and the RFP is very specific to all the needs in the major audit and the single audit, which is actually called uniform.
There actually are fewer firms that handle this for
School
district at
districts.
this point.
Yeah, I've done some work with one of the regional firms in Rochester for years. That's one Bonadio.
Bonadio is probably one that might come out. Ray Wager's group might come out.
Yeah.
Out of the Rochester area.
Okay.
And then we have a couple locals, including Insero.
Great, any questions there? Okay, any other discussion items, 4.6? All right, very good. Action items, I think we have an action item. We have to come up with a list for future audits, and we can do that. We'll add that to our list. Any other action items?
Scheduling that.
Scheduling the joint meeting in May. Okay.
And then after the joint meeting in May, we'll probably be meeting, and we will definitely set some dates and stick to them and give you guys a little bit more warning than we did for this meeting. And I really appreciate you being able to come together for us. But we usually meet at the beginning of June to review the the function of the external audit, the financial audit that happens over the summer months. And it's possible, probably not likely, but possible that we might have the internal audit at June, but that more likely will be in October. I don't know if they'll have it wrapped up in a final report to give us by our meeting in June, since they'll be just doing the work in May.
Very good. I believe that's it. So adjournment at 7:1.
All right.
Very
Thank
good,
you.
thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.